All right, thanks, Claudia. Hi,
No
everyone.
problem.
So we have a fairly brief agenda today, and I'm hoping we can cover it in the first half hour here. So the first topic on the agenda is it was going to be a discussion around the recently passed ballot for the cybersecurity automation subproject, or CASP, formerly known as the Cybersecurity Automation Workshop, CA, which is really hard to pronounce, so CASP is better. And what the next steps are now that we've passed that ballot, and this is going to be an official OCA subproject. I wanted to really quickly talk with the PGB about what we want to do for the next steps. Because there's some logistics items that I don't think have occurred, unless Claudia can correct me, right? Like, so because the automation workshop had its own website, had its own GitHub repo. All of those things would need to move into OCA repo, and we would need to figure out how to take its content and put it under the OCA website, or have it link off or something to that effect. So that is basically one item, is about how we want to proceed in the logistics of merging this stuff in now that the ballot has passed. And then, just as an addendum to that, if we wanted to discuss any planning for when the automation workshop, when the next physical one will be, previously there's been about 2 a year, one early in the year and one later in the year. We're now in February. Is this something we're trying to arrange in springtime? I don't know. So I just wanted to kind of open the floor to talk about that. But we might need to table this topic if Duncan's not here, since he's kind of local.
Duncan's on. Duncan foolishly didn't update his calendar and joined your bridge instead of the new Oasis bridge. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for joining on your vacation. Hopefully you're having fun. Hopefully it's warmer there than it is here, put it that way.
It is. I've been in the pool even.
Oh, lucky you.
Would you believe that it's supposed to go to minus 45 degrees Celsius here tomorrow?
Oh my God.
Yeah, with the wind chill, it's like crazy cold.
Wow.
Yeah. So Duncan, I don't know, how much did you catch of what I was rambling about?
All of it, I think. And so I put out an email a little bit earlier today, just to sort of help the meeting go faster, with, I don't know, 2, 4, 8, 9, 10 bullets in it. So if people haven't seen it and wanted to pull it up, it has the what I'm proposing. So yeah, there is some logistics stuff we have to do. I need to get together with Claudia next week once I'm back. But we need to set up the mailing list. I need to make the homepage that's sort of the text that goes on the main OCA website, that then leads you to a landing page that tells you what the heck we're talking about. And I sort of want to get both those in before I sent an email out to the old call list saying, hey, this is now an OCA project, we're doing it this way, and sort of get them all to come join the new mailing list and join the new website. I'm proposing there be 2 GitHub repos, one that's sort of the main one where we just put meeting notes and keep track of stuff. But another one that's basically take the old website, in GitHub pages, and make a new website that the old website sort of goes into the archive of, hey, we've had 3 of these before they were Oasis. Here's some historical data. And here's how the next one will be. But that does bring up the topic of when the next one should be, which we've been sort of holding off till we actually passed this and got the new mailing list and got everybody involved. We were thinking late first quarter, early second quarter. I guess we're still hopeful for that, but now it's only 2 months away. So I'm guessing it's going to be more into the second quarter. We usually try and tie it to something else, and we sort of need to figure out what to tie it to. But all those discussions can't take place till we get the mailing list and kick all the stuff off and suck everybody back in. I was also going to propose to basically send I'm going to call it custom email to each of the affected, because we're really putting together a lot of stuff from a lot of people. So, send an email to the OpenC2 group and say, hey, you guys should be participating in this, because here's how OpenC2 fits into it. Hey, stick shifter, here's how you fit in, each of the OCA projects, but even each, both TCs that matter, like TAC and OpenC2, and the the OCA projects that matter, like Stick Shifter and Kestrel, and indicators of behavior, and sort of try them all, sort of give them each a use case in their context of here's how you fit into the big one. But you know, we just passed it a week or two ago, so I haven't done any of that yet. Claudia.
Yes, so two things. I will send you an email and propose some dates if you or if you have any days you prefer, we can also just do that. We don't have to do that now, but I wanted to mention that once this is all set up, we can also make a press release and work with Mary Beth to announce everything. And ideally, obviously, if we have a date for the next workshop, we could tie that all together. Or we have two press releases, that's fine too, right? So just wanted to mention that. And I'm sure you probably are already working with Jane on these things, maybe. So if for the organization, you're muted, I can't hear you. You're muted, Duncan.
Sorry, we worked with Jane on the last one. We haven't, last two actually. We haven't on the next one yet because we've sort of been in this holding pattern since about November. So yeah, we will.
Okay, cool.
Because and again, it gets iterative because is Oasis going to have a borderless cyber this year or not? Well, if they are, we probably should tie one of them to it. And if not, should it be RSA or should it be DEF CON or should it be besides Wichita or something? Who knows? We need to figure all that out.
Cool. That's it.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. And so Paul, I never saw that email before the meeting, Duncan. So
no worries. Like I said, I'm on vacation. So I just, I'm actually at a health camp, eating healthy and exercising a lot. So I literally did it between exercise classes. So.
Okay.
So one quick thought. I think that all sounds great to me on CASP and CAW. I think we just want to be careful in, the forthcoming Sequoia proposal for OXA. Let's call it that for the time being. I think there's naturally a lot of overlap which is a good thing. We're all pointing the right direction, trying to do the same thing, and making sure that we well define. This is where Stick Shifter goes. This is where OpenC2 goes. This is where PACE goes. This is how these things interact. That is the nature of everything we're doing in OCA always. I want to be careful that we don't create confusion in having too many repositories that sort of overlap in different places, and kind of reinventing the wheel. I think of the cybersecurity automation workshop as a really great key event that can help us get more input and participation and work that would then need to be organized and put into respective repositories, not necessarily everything that is done in the workshop should end up in a workshop repository, if that makes sense. So, I mean, it's
I agree. I see it more as, in a way, it's almost interoperability testing, but it's interoperability testing of stuff we don't have yet.
And prototyping.
So it will make for gaps, and the gaps have to go. Yeah, other groups have to do the gaps. I see it more as an overlay. So if it's it's more to say, hey, you should use Stick Shifter. Hey, if you have this situation, you should use Stick Shifter, and here's how it interplays with everything else. But if it's anything to do with how to use Stick Shifter, that's over in the Stick Shifter specs.
Yeah, so I think there's more thinking and work to do in that regard.
I don't see it, for example, taking over the architecture work and all that stuff, or the ontology. They should both play into it. They shouldn't be incompatible, but this is more that, no, this is how they, let's actually get them to fit together.
Yeah. So just a thought, nothing complete there, but just I see some work to be done and thinking through how we organize and present that.
Yeah. And is that, and I do remember reading something on it a while, but what is the state of that other project, and what documentation do we have to?
So go ahead, Jason.
Oh yeah, well, so that's a good one. I probably should have put it on the agenda, but I didn't. So the proposal is still kind of a little bit in a holding pattern, to be honest, because we received it. It looks pretty good. We discussed it at a high level last month. Everyone in the PGB, you know, we actually had some more attendees last month than we do this month. And all the folks on the call said, yeah, it sounds good. When can we see the actual proposal? And so we're in kind of a holding pattern, because in order to submit a proposal, you have to be a sponsor, and they're not a sponsor yet, right? So essentially, Carol is working with them, trying to work with them to say, you know, the PGB reps think this makes a lot of sense. They're pretty sure it's going to be received well, but you know, you need to be a sponsor or have someone sponsor it in order to submit it. So that's what's going on with that. And they're trying to work through becoming a member if they're going to do that. So that's where that one is, Duncan. And you know, if you know, I'm just going to be frank, you know, if folks here are interested in seeing that proposal, I am sure that they wouldn't have a problem sharing it with you. Like if you reached out with Carol and, you know, and we can make the contacts, I don't think that'll be a problem. If you're interested in learning more about what they're proposing, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm interested because I want to sort of tie it into CASP. And again, maybe one of the reasons we're asking was sort of, hey, when's it going to happen? Because maybe we somehow tie that into the next workshop. You know,
yeah,
it's not going to happen for 6 months, and we probably don't want to do that. If it's going to happen like within weeks, all right, or maybe it makes a decision on why, let's not do March because it's too close anyway. Let's do April because then they'll be in time or something.
Yeah, so we don't know when it's going to happen because it's all contingent on if they become a member. So if they join, then they submit it, you know, and then we have to vote on it as a governing board. In theory, we can do that outside of a meeting. You know, but it is all contingent on them joining. You know, because otherwise somebody would have to like kind of sponsor it for them, and I don't think that that anybody's doing that. So
okay, thanks.
Any other questions with that one? Mark, did you have anything to add, or?
I would just say, for clarity of everybody that's on the call, I mean, essentially it's very much a wireframe at the moment, but the kind of gist of what they're thinking about proposing is, you know, very in line with everything we've been doing as OCA in general. Our mission of, you know, defining an open XDR, if you will, kind of reference architecture and platform, what devices need to do what on what standard interfaces, what are standard command and control and use cases for different things, you know, how should data be formatted and schemas and all of that good stuff. So I think it's very in line with OCA's mission, and it'd be great to have another organization that has as broad of you know, technology as they do, you know, join the party. So that's the gist of it, just so it's not a mystery to anybody.
Thanks. So the next item on the agenda was just regarding the TSC PACE concern that Jacques raised. So as of right now, we've kind of lost the TSC rep for PACE. And, you know, the project is a little bit stalled, to be honest. So we wanted to, you know, basically open it up here to see if anybody had any thoughts or discussions on, you know, is there, so first of all, is there another member who's planning on joining or something that we're not aware that might be a good candidate for the TSC? And, you know, in general, with the status of the project, because it does seem to be a little bit stagnated. So that's what I wanted to discuss, but Adam wasn't able to make the call today. And you know, I don't know, Duncan, if you had any thoughts on that. If not, I guess we can table it for now, but as of right now, there's no TSC representation.
I would prefer the TSC representation to be someone other than me. In other words, I'd prefer to be on the TSC as PGB, not in sort of overarching. And plus, I'll probably be on the TSC as the CASP representative. So I'd rather not wear too many hats, but I am a main proponent of PACE. I do wish Adam and the CIS, the Center for Internet Security, would sort of follow through on some of their earlier stuff, but I know, I mean, he had the person leave, and it's, you know, he's only got what staff he has, so it's been tough. I still have very high hopes for it. I think it's very tied in closely though to the CASP work, and so there's a little bit of a chicken and egg there. Since the CASP stuff's been on hold, the PACE stuff sort of went on hold. The SBOM crowd, you know, obviously with the passage of the new executive, the new basically ripple from the executive order from May a year ago, now that it's basically actually written into the recent US law that some of the SBOM stuff has to get done and some of the cybersecurity stuff has to be done, the sort of interest in that has went up a little. It's also a little bit weirder because the government is in, now that it's into putting out regulations on this stuff, it is in a little more quiet mode than, or keeping its hands off stuff than it used to be. But I'm pretty sure everyone's going to recognize pretty quickly they're going to need something like PACE. And so I'm hopeful we can, through those channels, get a lot of other people involved. But I think the main, for lack of a term, I'm going to call it marketing event that'll do that will be the CASP. And so there's this chicken and egg of, well, we haven't been doing anything there, so no one's doing anything. So I'm still hopeful, and if it doesn't sort of work in the next round, then yeah, maybe we punt entirely. But I actually think we're almost at the cusp of the exact right time we're sort of in the right place at the right time. But I mean, it's still probably 6 months off, maybe 9 months off. But I think CASP is the way to do it. So I'd prefer to just, you know, hang tight for a little bit. I know the NSA isn't as pushing it as hard as they were, because they sort of gave up hope on it, I guess. But I do think that it relates into several other activities that I think over the next 6 months or so are going to make it very relevant, and I'm hopeful we can get more involved. If we can't, then it's just a few of us who are currently doing it, then you're right. It's probably, I mean, it's a great thing, but hey, if no one's going to do it, then no one's going to do it. I mean, it originally started out of the particular IATF work that transitioned in here. Personally, I'd rather see the work here than in IATF, but IATF is kicking off some new stuff too. So there is a little bit of competition for it. I'd say we need to hang tight, but at least from a, hey, you need a TSC rep. If you need a name, it's me. But I'm hopeful we'll get more people involved. Over.
So is there anything we can or should be doing, like, you know, just on your angle about the SBOM crowd and what's, you know, everything that's happening there? Like, when I look at what's happening at the Open SSF, and they're creating a new VEX standard, and, you know, there's like 20 or 30 different vendors joining all of these calls. It's a whole hotbed of activity in that area. So is there something that we should be doing, you know, with, you know, some other, you know, how come it feels to me like kind of like we're missing the boat a bit, and I don't know.
Agree.
What more?
Yeah, I mean, I think PACE I think CASP and PACE are a way to, for example, tie, you know, my particular, I mean, you can tie any of them together, but my particular favorite would be to tie the OASIS CSAFX spec into the use case and show how we do the whole picture. Because that's what, I mean, all these are doing individual, and admittedly, some of the competition is coming just because people want to slow the stuff down.
So is there something, you know, so I know last year at Black Hat, right? When we were at Black Hat, and, you know, Carol and Dee were staffing the booth, and I kind of pointed out to them, you know, see that booth right over there? And it was literally across the hall. It was the OWASP booth. And I'm like, you guys should walk over there and talk to them about Cyclone and about how CSAF and Cyclone can work closer together. And I do think they had an introductory conversation, but you know, to your point, like that's a really good point, right? About how, you know, these things can tie in CSAF and make that work better. And I'm wondering if, should we be talking to the Omar and the CSAF TC about this? Should we be talking about to OWASP about this?
I mean, I attend that one. So yes, I certainly had that on my list too. But again, it was chicken and egg until we had CASP as a, you know, till we have a mailing list for them to join. I'm reasonably certain I can get, I mean, we have 100+ people on the old call list. And now with all that's went on since the last time, I mean, we haven't done one in 9 months or whatever. Since all that's went on since the last one, I'm sure we can get that number much higher. But yeah, but I think we need the stake in the ground. And the first stake in the ground was to make it this project, which we have. I think the next stake in the ground is to make these use cases that show how this stuff ties together under the CASP auspices, and maybe even under this new project auspices once it kicks off, but at least for now under the CASP auspices, show how, and to be honest, it doesn't matter whether it's Cyclone DX or CSAF. And in fact, you can actually make good use cases of, hey, in this case, you know, Cyclone makes more sense in this case. Hey, in this case, you know, the VEX version of CSAF makes the most case. And in this other case, the non-VEX version of CSAF makes the most case. We need to get that crowd, we need to get the competing sides both using us as the place to fight. Okay. In other words, we can work with both of you. We'll work with both of you. Hey, here's the use cases. And then, you know, Steve Springett will show up. Kate Stewart will show up. Omar and the whole crowd there will show up, Elliot and all of them, because they'll say, hey, here's how my stuff works. But we need to get the base. We need to have that to do it in. And then we use it to say, hey, and here's how Stick Shifter ties in, and here's how Sticks and Taxi ties in, and here's how Kestrel ties in, and do the whole, you know, we're doing the whole shebang. And then everyone says, oh, we're the place to do it. That's at least my vision.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And now my wheels are spinning even more on how maybe because there has been a pertinent conversation going on about how the tool chain is a big part of the missing piece for SBOM and VEX and having tools to tie these things together. And I know that, so we at IBM actually have some tools we've been building to do some of this stuff. And some of them we've open sourced. So maybe there's an opportunity to have that move into PACE. I don't know.
That would be great. And the other thing is, and again, obviously if they're open source, then great, pull them in, but they don't even have to be open source. We can tie in the interfaces. I mean, we need standard interface. I mean, that's our sort of whole shtick, right? Is, hey, we got a bunch of standard interfaces. Let's plug them all together and show how they show benefit to the user. And I think that's where we gotta, I think actually the user community is where are the people that should be showing up at these meetings. Okay, to say that, okay, I can take that. I can take the proprietary stuff, but it still works. I use Stick Shifter to convert it to this. Oh, and I can take this interface, or it still works. So I, made some glue or whatever to connect to this interface. Oh, and these other people, oh, great, they already used it. Oh, IBM's already used the standard interface. Great, we'll use theirs. And that the people have, particularly in the software transparency, now that they're getting around to having to do it, there's like 90 new businesses cropping up to do this that are like, what the heck, we're already doing it all, just tie our stuff together.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, well, that was a good conversation. So, we'll keep working that angle. When you get back from vacation, you can raise it the next CSAF meeting. And we'll try to figure out cadence on how we can schedule the next, maybe we can use the workshop as a springboard to do some of this stuff sometime.
Yeah. So if everybody sort of thinks about what would be a good, we usually try to tie it to something else. We're not going to get as many people if we just say, all right, let's hold one. And, I'm sure AT&T hosted the last one in DC. I'm sure they'd be willing to host the next one in Middletown, because they almost hosted the last one there. Patrick would. but you know, they're only going to go just to do that, or no, it's the day before something else or the day after, or we can tie it with something we're likely to get. Like if we, like CISA is going to hold an SBOMalooza at some point. They keep pushing it out. My original hope was to tie this to that whole software transparency crowd. They're getting their hands tied a little bit more because now that the stuff's written into law, they you know, they're under more handcuffs on how they interact. So I'm not sure if that's going to come off, but I'm still hopeful that's going to come off. I mean, I doubt it'll be March anymore, but maybe April or May. And then we'll just try and tie it to that and show how, hey, here's all our other pieces tie with this stuff. It's how it all benefits everybody. And
yeah, so,
Jason, you got some other tools because PACE is pretty broad. I mean, I obviously focus on the software transparency part, but it's basically where sort of all the stuff, and it doesn't have to, like I said, it doesn't have to be, I would think some of your proprietary tools you'd want to have as more we'll do that. You know, the E in the PACE. We'll do that. You know, we got tools to do that evaluation. You don't need to, you know, we don't need to open source the guts. We just need to make the standard interface to it. And you give us data, we give you the evaluation back, kind of stuff.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are some that would be doing that, like Encore or On, how do you pronounce their name? Anchor, whatever. Anyway, there's some companies that do that. We're not in that space. So, we don't need to.
I could argue some of your stuff is close to that, or maybe you've open sourced them already, but you have some stuff that is on the analytical side, I'll say it.
Yeah.
Claudia?
It's just you guys use those tools, whatever. I'm just, if everyone looks at it from that lens, there's almost all of cybersecurity fits somewhere in there. You need data, and you need to decide what you do with the data so you can make a decision on it.
Claudia, you have your hand raised.
Just a practical question. When is the next PACE meeting going to be? Because that might be a good chance to ask the people who are there if someone would be willing to, you know, participate in the TSC. So Xiaokui could join that next PACE meeting, for instance, if that fits. Or Duncan, you could take that.
Yeah,
over.
I mean, it's on the calendar. I'd have to look because I don't have the calendar.
But maybe
we went from weekly to monthly because again, there wasn't much going on. We went to monthly meetings. It's whatever Monday of the month it is. And we did actually discuss it at the last one, and because again, the NS, I mean, it was NSA, whatever G2's new name is, me, and somebody else. And it was, we're sort of in the holding pattern. Let's get let's get the next workshop and work out the use cases so we can, I mean, they're all said and done. PACE is mostly focused on once OpenC2 and Kestrel get their connections together, and once CISA nails down wherever it's going to do that, and then tying both of them into that. So we're in a double holding pattern, one of which we've gotten rid of now that we've got CASP official. We can get it going, and that should be one driver. And then again, the government driver on the SBOM side, hopefully they'll get their act together soon too. And then
thank you.
So, you know, just wanted to share this really quick. It's kind of an interesting coincidence, Duncan, as you're talking about events. Jane just sent me this about an hour ago.
Oh, nice.
Haven't gone through it, but, you know, she was sending it, raising a flag that, you know, she's been trying to talk about this with the marketing committee for a while, and they've been having lackluster participation in marketing. So that's a different topic, but these are all the cybersecurity events that OASIS is tracking right now. And, you know, some of them are ones that, you know, Jane's already trying to barter opportunities for and things of that nature. So, you know, we can kind of look at the dates here and try to align, you know, to your point about, you know, trying to piggyback in something that people go to. You know, if we're looking at, you know, the middle of the year, you know, first is a pretty big one that's happening in Montreal. Gartner's a big deal. If you go later in the year, you've got Black Hat. Cyber Week's a big deal. So anyway, this is, I think, could be useful to try to plan that. And then, you know,
Definitely.
if we can pick something, then we can work with Jane on, you know, she can prioritize that event. Right.
Yep.
So I'll send out this link to the
That'd be
PGB.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a Google Doc. So. Okay.
I got a quick question. Are there any organizations, Jason, you mentioned, you started to mention some other organizations that are doing the evaluation part of things, but could we come up with a list of vendors that we think are doing interesting things in, you know, we call it PACE or, you know, whatever, that we might want to try and recruit? And I'd be happy to do outreach and try and get some new blood and potentially leadership if there is an organization that we identify as doing things that are innovative.
I think there's a bunch, you know, and I can send you a list of ones that I'm aware of, you know, that are doing stuff in this area, especially if you're talking about the SBOM side. There's the, you know, I still think, I think there's an interesting opportunity here that we as Oasis as a whole isn't necessarily doing enough around working with OWASP, because they're, you know, they're deep into all this with the Cyclone DX, and we have the CSAF, which Cyclone DX actually uses. But I don't think we're like coordinating very well between the two. And OWASP is,
yeah, and to be honest, the same with the Linux Foundation. I actually think these are more partnerships than competition would be better for both sides. Like OWASP, Linux Foundation, and Oasis see them. My perception is see themselves as competing with each other, and they'd actually be better off cooperating.
How can we help? Like, is there, what concrete things could we do? And when you talk about Linux Foundation, are you talking about the OpenSSF in particular, or?
Well, no, specifically in the SBOM case, it'd be the SPDX.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
SPDX was sort of the leader in licensing.
Yeah.
Cyclone DX was the leader in security. Yeah. You need it for both. So now they both do both and compete with each other. And they both wiped out. There used to be a third competitor in the government called SWID. That's basically fallen off the radar, which is good. But both of them have their places. Both of them work. It's like GIF and ping and TIFFs. I mean, they all make pictures. And in some cases, yes, you really do need a GIF versus a TIFF. And in some cases, you really do need a TIFF, although rarely. But in any one of them, you can convert them or one of the other ones. It's just data. And who cares which made which one? So like from an OCA viewpoint, we want to play with all of them. Okay, we want to, yes, Cyclone DX is perfectly good for SBOMs, perfectly good for VEXs. CSAFs is perfectly good for VEXs. We don't have to pick a winner. We can pick you can use either one. And you want to argue which cases are better, great, come here and argue which cases are better. But I think we're getting less adoption because they're fighting with each other as opposed to just use both of them. Use this one in this case, this one in that way. Go move forward. We don't care.
And what's happening is because there's so much fighting, you now have there's some individuals who I don't agree with, but there's people thinking that, oh, because the market isn't deciding on any one, that means that we need to create another one. And
right.
They're creating the, you know, for example, they made this open VEX thing now. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how many of these things, you know, that's not a solution to their actual problem.
No.
So, I mean,
particularly since either of the existing ones are open groups, you could have, if you didn't like something, and go in and get them to change it, you know?
Yeah. And to me, you know, I think, Claudia, to me, at least I think Oasis and OWASP could definitely be working together, because OWASP does not make, you know, Cyclone DX is the only thing that they make like that. This isn't like a big area where, it should not be a competition at all. I think,
and they don't make standard. I mean, they call it's a standard, but it's not a standard. We make standards. They don't. Hey, we could make it a standard.
That's another.
Okay, so that would be a topic for Jamie or Carol potentially, or I'm wondering, like,
I think it would be, and I mean, Duncan and I, like, we know Francis.
Or Francis, I don't know.
Like, we know Francis is trying to find new opportunities, right? And to me, this is something that I don't think we're exploring enough.
Okay, so did you, like, that's not like an OCA PGB topic, but did you, like, this would be an OASIS board topic, perhaps?
Maybe. It might be. Like should we be partnering with OWASP, and then maybe OASIS can help them get through ISO.
So will you bring that up, or should I? I mean, I can. It probably has more weight if you bring it up with Francis.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I like I say, I did bring it up last year at Black Hat, but maybe we just need to refresh on it.
Yeah. Okay, and
we can bring it up, but you get more screen time than we do. I mean,
right. Okay, I will.
The board doesn't meet that often, and we have a lot to cover. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, I will. I'm making a note to also mention that in our next staff meeting, perhaps, because then Carol will be there as well, and she remembers that conversation from Black Hat as well. Okay, Cool. Thanks.
Okay. So the only other topic that we had on the agenda was reconfirmation of Mark. So, for those who may or may not be aware, Mark changed employment the end of the quarter last year. And we thought at the time that nothing kind of really needed to happen, because it was just in the middle of his 2-year life cycle, but Chet clarified with us that according to the rules, he actually needs to get reelected when you change employers. So we don't have anywhere near a quorum here, to be honest. So we're probably going to have to do ballot. But I just wanted to raise that here. We also need to, have a call for nominations. So if anybody here is interested in nominating themselves or another PGB member for the role of co-chair, you're free to do that. We will put it the same call to the mailing list. But just wanted to make folks aware that that's going to be happening today. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts.
I assume, Mark, your new company is a member of OCA?
We are. Yep. I got that done.
Then I nominate Mark.
Thanks, Duncan.
All right, so we'll get that done. We'll get that done today, Mark. I'll send those emails out so we can get that ballot going and get it accomplished, hopefully.
Okay. Does my 2-year thing restart, or how's that work?
No, I think you got to fill in. Mark needs to run for the open vacancy left by Mark. And it ends at the end with Mark.
I would. We would have to check with Chet. Yeah, we'll have to ask Chet what the time. I would think it would restart. I don't know why it would not. But
well, at least in TCs when we did it,
if they're going to make,
we didn't usually replace it with the same person. But when somebody new filled in, it usually, we had the odd year chair and the even year chair, and if the odd year chuffed, they filled in for the rest. But do whatever.
I'm not actually worried about it. I'm here to contribute and help any way I can. So if we find somebody that can do more at some point, I'll be their supporter.
All right. I don't have any other topics. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring up? Zhao Kui, I saw you join halfway. Thanks for that. Do you have anything you wanted to bring up? We talked a little bit about the PACE TSC before you joined. And we don't have a clean answer for that right now, but Duncan's kind of going to technically check the box until we figure out more about what's going on with PACE.
Yeah,
I would just add Xiaoquei to that prompt if there's anything we can help with as well, like, you know, organizations to chase down or participants or anything you need.
So in the last TSC call, we try to go through all the projects and to check that we have a representative for each of the projects so that we can get the TSC exchanging idea information between different projects. So PACE is the first thing that we found that we need a new candidate for the representative. And another project that we are not sure is ontology. So do we need a representative for ontology as well? And what is the status of the project currently? That is another question we have.
So that's a good question as well, because so ontology, you know, now that Richard has left, so Claudia, and with SAIC, in addition to the PGB, you know, we should see if they, you know, if one of those individual names there, if they want to have like a brief conversation, like, you know, I'm happy to set something on the calendar to talk to them, because
Yeah.
they were also running the ontology project as well. And is someone going to pick that up, or?
I think there was someone else who, well, let me see. I think was it Ian Featherstone? Ian Featherstone. So I don't know if he's still with SAIC, but I will reach out to him and see maybe because he was running the
he was doing the
ontology
work, but I think he was kind of an apprentice of Forrest.
Okay.
And he might have been put on something else with a new kind of mentor.
Yeah. I could still ping him, or if you know him, you could do that too. I don't mind either way.
I'm happy to.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
And Jason, maybe kind of the same question. Are there other organizations that you know of, or collectively we could, you know, identify that are doing interesting things, you know?
So I think Mark, if the ask, you know, to your point is, you know, how can we help? Should we do some reach out? I think we should it would be good to try to organize like to reach out to, if I just look at the PGB list, there's two members, Cyware and Eclectic IQ, right? Who, you know, they're not in attendance, right? So if we can make contact with them and kind of find out, you know, how can we get you more involved? What can we do for you? You know, is the PGB meeting just at a bad time? Like what, you know, anything we can do to increase engagement, because I'm really worried that we're probably going to lose them in the current climate if we don't create value.
So Eclectic IQ just renewed, and I think Kieran also participated in a vote, so at least he's there. But I think it's a great idea to reach out to them directly and see, you know, and talk and have a conversation. And maybe we need to change the time of the meeting. I mean, Kieran is in Ireland, so I don't know.
It shouldn't be too bad for Ireland.
No.
You never know. This day might be bad. Maybe Thursdays. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I do think it'd be worth trying to figure out how can we have a touch base with Kieran? How can we have a touch base with the rep from Cyware?
Right.
I'm actually going to make a point to do the same with Vaughn, because I haven't had a conversation with him in a while.
That would be fantastic.
But yeah, you know, so anything there, Mark, I think would be amazing, like increasing some of the contact there.
Yeah, I definitely can make, I have time right now while I'm working on new things to do some of this stuff. So happy to do it. I'm trying to think. Eclectic IQ is interesting though. Like, I don't know, you know, obviously they're using Stix and Taxi, but like, I don't know that they have like a community edition or contribute to open source much. I wonder
They
what
contribute.
they're.
So they contributed to the Stix specification quite a bit. They're
Okay.
I don't know how much as far as open source. I mean, that'd be something that's probably something I need to research more. But they do have they have an XDR now. Like they've kind of widened their scope. They acquired an EDR and now they have an XDR suite.
So they're on GitHub and they have some projects featured on their website under open source projects. So they are doing stuff there. I don't know how old this is, but yeah.
But I mean, this is why we need to increase the dialogue, right? They've been a mentor, they've been a sponsor for a couple of years now. And anyway, all right. Yeah,
I'll chase down Eclectic. Anybody else, just ping me on Slack and let me know.
And if I can help you with anything there, let me know.
Okay. Thanks, Claudia.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other last minute topics? No, I can give a couple minutes back.
Not for me. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.